Okay, so let's get into the settings within GoHighLevel. Now, if you own the account yourself, you will have what we call an agency view. And the agency view can get a little bit tricky if you're not sure what to look for. And most of the time, it'll just have your basic information about your company here in the settings, along with your team members and whatnot. However, if you click here, you can then switch to your sub account, and the sub account is essentially your actual companies. And so some people have more than one company and they would have multiple sub accounts within the same GoHighLevel agency. So for example, if you own a painting company and also a roofing company, you would have one sub account for your painting company and the other one for the roofing company. Essentially, two accounts with two separate workflows and two separate phone books and two separate phone numbers, but within the same agency account. And that's how GoHighLevel allows you to organize your companies. Now, once you're actually in the sub account, you can go to the settings, and the first thing you're prompted with is usually your business profile settings. Here, you just want to make sure everything is correct in terms of your physical address for the business, any other information that you want to put in there, your email, the phone number, your branded domain, website, all these types of things. You can fill it in. No harm if you leave certain things blank. Don't worry about it too much. But anything that you see here that is relevant to you, you can go ahead and add it in there. You can make your emails compliant by adding that unsubscribe link, which is usually there by default, or you can turn them off, etc. And you can also just skim through it and see what catches your interest. Now, if you come to my staff, which is probably the most important section of this all, here you can invite your team members. Now, when you click on add user, you have various different options. So when you're adding your employees, of course, you would enter their first and last name along with your email, and the phone number is optional, but good to put. This would be their personal phone number here. And then from there, you would give them either a password that you would set for them and share with them, or you could leave that blank and it will then prompt you to send them a password reset. From there, if you want to give them an email signature, you can. Otherwise, you can leave it blank and they can fill it out themselves later. You could then come to the roles and permissions section. And here, if the employee that you're adding is going to be an administrator, you can leave this as it is. If you want them to just be a staff member, you can change them to user. Now, simply changing it to user is not enough. You need to also scroll down and determine which of these you want that employee to have access to. Now, before we get into that, you see here there's a checkbox and it says restrict data visibility to only assigned data. Now, what this refers to in the simplest sense is if there is a contact in your phone book or a conversation in your conversations tab, by default, everyone on your team can see the entire phone book with all the contacts, and they can also see all the conversations unless you have this button selected for that particular staff member. What happens when you select this is that they will not be able to see any of the contacts or any of the conversations unless you have assigned it to that staff member specifically. There are automations that will help you do that, or you can manually do that by going to that particular contact or the conversation and assigning it to that employee. And as far as I know, you can have it only selected to one employee at a time. But as an admin, you can see everything regardless. Now, as we get into these different toggles, if it is a regular employee, like a salesperson, and you don't want them to mess around with your settings, basically you would disable the AI agents because you don't want them to mess around with your voice AI if you have that, or the conversation AI if you have that in the future. Leave the account settings on. This is mostly for their own settings so that they can come and add their calendar and change around their own personal settings. Automations, you can choose to disable it if you like, and leave the calendars. So again, they can come and work on the calendars and manage appointments. Pretty much everything else here, you can leave it. If you want to disable the marketing, you can. And You could also disable payments as well. And if you disable payments, you'll see how these ones automatically also went away. Now, you would only disable payments if you don't want them to see anything related to financials. However, if you expect your employee to take payments or to create invoices, then you should leave that turned on. Otherwise, everything else here should be fine in terms of the dashboard and whatever else might be visible here. From there, if I just minimize this, we have the call and the voicemail settings. If there is a particular phone number you want to assign to this staff member, you can select it from this list. These are GoHighLevel phone numbers, and again, you can have more than one phone number in GoHighLevel. So that's only if they need a dedicated number. Otherwise, you don't have to do that. And then where it says forward calls to, so in most cases, we would disable a desk phone. Nobody really has a desk phone anyways. That's something kind of old. If you want to have their mobile application ring, you would have the mobile app selected. If you want their computer to ring when they have the browser open, you would also select the web app. And if you want it forwarded to their cell phone, their personal cell phone, or the physical cell phone they have, you would also select this. Otherwise, I like to just select these two because I like it when the app itself is the one notifying me with the phone call instead of it coming to my direct line. And the default channel should typically always be the mobile app unless you want the phone number. This would, of course, change if you have a receptionist that only takes calls from the computer, in which case you can switch it to the web app. The incoming call timeout by default is 10 seconds. You're welcome to change it to 20 if you like. That's the recommended time. And otherwise, I think everything else is going to be up to the user once they finally sign in. At that point, they can configure their calendar and connect their email and everything once they have created that account. And that's pretty much it. Your billing section, of course, is there. You would want to have a credit card on file to pay for your minutes. The phone numbers that you purchase are kind of like prepaid SIM cards. And so aside from the dollar per month that it takes to reserve your phone number, you will get charged a very, very small amount for every minute of calling or for every text message you sent out. And you don't want to have an overdue balance because then you can't take new calls. And so just make sure you have a valid credit card on file there.